Inspiration for these videos comes from strange places sometimes. And last week's video showing the ultimate clip loader. Yes, they know it's a magazine. The ultimate clip loader featured a side note that it worked with other manufacturers' magazines not listed on the package, specifically certain high standard magazines. And we showed how our beloved channel mainstay, our 1963 Supermatic Citation by High Standard, can be quickly loaded using the device. But this video did more than educate us on speed loaders. It put a beautiful, high-quality firearm in my hand. A firearm that is frequently part of High Standard exclusive collections, as there's a whole universe of these High Standards out there. And many collectors so loyal, they own nothing else. Holding it in my hand again, making that small segment of my video did something. The weight, the quality, the perfect feel. It's time to expand our High Standard experience. So I'm drawn to a local gun store. It's the glass tower display case, and right there on the top shelf, we found them. The High Standard twins, on consignment from the same guy. You knew they had to stay together. So that brings us to this. Game 1 of our High Standard doubleheader. Play ball! Milsurp Garage, the High Standard HD military. These are made from 1942 through 1951. This one is mid-production from 1946. High Standard. These are semi-automatic straight blowback operated 22 long rifle chambered pistols with 10-round detachable box magazines, sporting a heel mag release, thumb-operated safety lever, last round bolt hold open by an empty magazine, and adjustable iron sights. 2 barrel lengths were offered in this model, 6.7 inch for the heavy target style barrel and 4.5 inches, such as this model. High Standard, of course, founded by Carl Gustav Swebelius in 1926. You could check out my Supermatic Citation video. That High Standard video has some Carl Gustav Swebelius founder information. This video, I'm going to stick with some design information, how these designs came to be in High Standard's possession. Very distinctive pistols, you know. So originally, this design, conceived by a former Colt employee way before High Standard became active in 1926. This guy's name was Lucius Nathaniel Deem. And this guy had an idea, had a patent, and it was for a single shot pistol. So this patent, although the gun did look like very similar to this, it looked like a semi-automatic pistol, his patent was for a single shot pistol. See, back in these days, like when you're talking about like 1915, the beginnings of semi-automatic guns, right? People didn't know what to make of these things. You know, progress with some things, people are afraid of progress. And you would think they would clamor for semi-automatic. It fires as fast as I pull the trigger, shell casings flying out of the gun. How awesome does that look? But people were hesitant. They looked at it like they were all these things like that. It took away from the power of the round. They figured if you're using some of the round's power to cycle the action, throw the brass out and load the gun. They must be like you must be losing power, losing energy in the shot, which is not necessarily true. And number two, they looked at it like it's a waste of ammo. Like they were very into marksmanship. Like one shot, one kill. You don't need to be, rattling rounds downrange to get the job done. Just the one right shot gets it done. But it's been proven that really the best way to fight a war is just to unleash a barrage, which seems to make sense now. But these guns were manually operated. You would fire it and then manually pull the slide back to eject the case, and manually didn't even return by itself. You had to push it back forward again to load around. This design was picked up by a company named Fiala in 1920. The founder of Fiala was a guy named Fiala, who was a famous adventurer and sportsman at the time. And this brand was his, with his name. And in 1920, they came out with this single shot pistol that was sold from 1920 through 1923, when the company folded. And they sold that design to multiple different companies. So you might see that gun out there. Again, just the manual, the single shot. But Diem, he went on to form his own company called Hartford Arms and Equipment Company in 1925. And he refined this design into a blowback operated pistol. And this was the company that was purchased by High Standard when Carl Gustav Swabelius kicked into action in 1926. They saw the worth of this pistol. He liked it. And they bought it up and brought that on board as the Model D. And this Model D and several other variants were created at that time, all using this design. Now, I have some, I love to deal with the patents. I have some patents here for it. So these are interesting. If you look up Diem, right? So this is you know how to do this. You go to Google Patents and you put a US in front of this number, 1226478. That's a patent that was filed in 1917 and filed in 1915, granted in 1917. This was before even Fiala picked it up. This was the original design that he came up with. Here's one filed in 1916, granted in 1918. So again, parts of the same pistol. So you can see the different patents. This would be for the striker, and seems like the how the striker system is set up. And here's a patent filed in 1917 and granted in 1918. This is for the trigger mechanism of this pistol. Now here we move into the Fiala years. Here is another patent. This is a refinement, most likely. And again, just pull these numbers. This one is 1511509. This was filed in 21 and granted in 24. So this was through the years of Fiala. This is an interesting one. So this now was filed in 21 and granted in 24. This 51511 you got to check this one out. When you read the body of it, this is the conversion, how he converted the single shot to the semi-auto. This is the semi-auto design. Interesting. And High Standard had a tremendous amount of success with this pistol design. And in 1942, the Model D had a hammer added to it. So here's a photo. This is the Model D, and here is the Model HD with the hammer added. You see this is very, very similar. They just carry over the design with an external hammer. And Post-war, pre-war, these were just called the Model HD. Post-war, they had the word military added to it. They were called the HD military. Reason being that during the war, during World War II, the Model HD was used in both training and service by the U.S. Armed Forces. Here is a super interesting little road to travel down and research on these things. I'll touch on it a little bit, but man, you can do a whole video just on this. There was a special model, okay? Here is the U.S. Ordnance catalog for, this is just for the B and the Model HD that they use for training also. But there was a special here. Wikipedia has a page on it if you want to check it out. The High Standard HDM. Okay, now this HDM had an integral silencer added, creating a model in 1944 that was used by the OSS, which were they were a kind of like a pre-CIA agency, was the OSS. For these guns were used during special operations and clandestine missions. Sounded like they were used to assassinate people, is what they were. So, and during this time, during wartime, for legal concerns, full metal jacket 22 long rifle rounds were developed specifically for this pistol because there were rules that you had to use full metal jacket bullets in any type of wartime operations. And if they were going to use these things like that, all the 22s didn't have that. They had to actually develop a special round for it to stay within the legalities of war, you know. And legend has it that the military used this suppressed 22 pistol in special forces operations and by CIA agents in the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and supposedly even as recent as the Gulf War. And it is a fact that Russia has one of these on display in Moscow at their Central Armed Forces Museum that they say was recovered in the cockpit of a downed U-2 spy plane that was shot down over the Soviet Union in 1960. Very famous story. You could read about the pilot and that whole story. But one of these was inside the cockpit of that plane. So there's an interesting aspect to that gun for our considerations right here, is that you see this out there sometimes. I've seen this in a few different places. And I got to tell you, this is not real. This is a very, very common thing that's used. Somebody made this up. Some artist made this up. And it's something that he created using Diem's patent. See, I could find the original patent. What is it? 511510, right? Here's that patent. Okay, that's the one that I was showing you. That this is the one where it was when he converted it to semi-auto, right? Here's what this patent looks like. These drawings, there's no silencer in these drawings. The silence gun was not patented. It was top secret. It was used by the military. There was no patents for that. But people love that gun so much that somebody drew this. Somebody drew this out the way you would draw out a patent with the integral silencer featured on it. You know, this is an HDM right here. You know what I mean? That's what it is. And it's attached to the Diem patent paperwork just to make it look like it's real. But this is just kind of like an artsy poster thing that you see like around the gun circuit. You'll see that thing for sale on eBay and stuff like that. And it's just used because of how cool it looks. But don't be fooled. Don't think that there's an actual patent by Diem for the suppressed military gun, because there is not. So as I stated in the intro, I found this 1946, this just out of World War II model in a local gun store, just as you see it here, along with its sibling that we will feature in the future second game of our High Standard double feature. So tune in for that one. It came with this compensator affixed and was in need of a full preservation workup and cleaning. I wasn't sure whether I was going to keep this compensator on here or off. I kind of like better the way it looks with it off, but it has set screws here on either side, 2 recesses on either side of the barrel right here for these set screws to sit in. Plus there is cosmetic damage on the bluing from this on here. So it looks nicer with it on, but just because of the damage. So it is what it is. These barrels, some High Standards, the barrels come right off. I could just buy another barrel and swap it out, and that would cure the problem. But these barrels aren't so easily swapped. These are like kind of like integral to the frame. So I'm pretty sure. I don't think this pin knocks out and the barrel comes out. I think it's all just kind of like it is what it is. This one they just got to keep it all together. So if this has to stay, not a big deal, but we'll get to the shooting later. We did have some problems with this. I think this was actually affecting the way it shot, but we'll get into that later. So let's take a closer look. It has a thumb safety here. That's very reminiscent of, like, say, 1911 type pistols, which you see why the military used it for training. Sure, it does have this grip angle. It's more like a Luger, but and they used it. They used it basically because the ammunition is cheap, and they do follow a similar form, similar function with the hammer and the safety and the slide release that a 1911 follows, but not exactly, not a true emulation like we've seen with some other guns. The magazine has a heel release here, not a button release, but these heel releases from I like these High Standard heel releases. These magazines were used to these with the thumb slider to control the follower, and it is true that that speed loader does work with these things, so that's really nice. We'll talk about some magazine stuff in the future, but mags with these things are very important. You got to like really treat these mags like chandeliers, because although they're not fragile, they are very, very susceptible to any little ding or dent or change or drop can really affect these magazines. So you have to be very, very careful with them. It has adjustable sights. It has again, it has a last round hold open or a hold open here, but this slide release here, it's not made to be pressed with your finger or your thumb or something like that to release the slide. It's used to, you could manually engage it up or pull the slide back and manually pull it down, but you can't just use it as a slide release. It's way, way too stiff for that. So if you load a mag and you slap it in here, the best way to get rocking is just to pull the slide back and let go and not actually even manipulate this release at all. This is a takedown lever back here. And also used for takedown is a button up on the top here that is used to capture the recoil spring. Copied directly from Browning's Woodsman pistols, by the way. I wonder how they got away with, how Diem got away with that. If it was actually, I got to look to see if that's in his original patents. Maybe that's something that High Standard grabbed up later on. Because I'll show you, there's another guy. What did I do with those patents? You know what? We'll save those for the save those for the next round. But there were some other. There was another guy that came along for High Standard in the '60s, let's say, throwing some patents down. So we'll deal with that in the future when we deal with the second game of the doubleheader. Right now, let's check out this hammer. I want to show you how this can be. This is something that you'd want to use on a clandestine killing tool right here. So there is a half cock there like that. You could just snick the hammer up a 1/16 of an inch right there to set it into a notch. Now, High Standard themselves, they even put paperwork in the box. Do not use this notch as a safety. Fully pull the hammer back and use the thumb safety if you're going to carry it that way or whatever. But this is just a, gun hidden away in a briefcase, in your jacket, whatever. And you carry it like this, because to go from the safe mode like this, where you don't have to worry about the trigger getting hit or anything firing because it's in this half cock mode, you go into go mode, Listen how quiet. The tiniest clicking noise. I mean, you could be right next to somebody who's sleeping and they're not going to hear that when you put this thing into firing mode. Just think that's kind of funny. That's a real quiet clandestine killing machine right there. So the sights are adjustable using a complex and delicate manipulation of various screws and pins. Now that being said, I have some advice. Number one, here's my advice for this gun. Number one, do not mess with the sight adjustments unless absolutely necessary because they can be easily damaged if you do it wrong. Number two, my second piece of advice for this gun, do not remove the slide unless absolutely necessary because the recoil spring can be easily damaged if you do it wrong. And number three, don't drop the magazines or force rounds through the feed lips when loading because they can be easily damaged if you do it wrong. Are you seeing a trend? These things are solid. There's a heavy and solid feeling, but there really are some fragile things going on here. You can damage stuff with this gun just trying to take it apart or put it back together if you don't know what you're doing. Now, High Standard, they produce a very, very comprehensive set of instructions right here. So they have a breakdown, parts breakdown, and a whole set of instructions right here. Those instructions certainly shouldn't be dismissed. You should read them, but I am here to help. I'm not messing with my sights, but I will demonstrate the slide removal and install because I know a lot of people will be showing up to take a look and maybe I can help you from damaging it. That's why I'm only going to do it as like a public service because I don't want to see anybody damaging these things. But if it's together already and you can clean it, it's probably better to just leave it. I'll, get comfortable with it. Be confident that you could do this right is what I'm saying. I don't want to see anybody hurting anything. And I'm also going to show you the proper magazine loading. So for slide removal, I'm going to go through it first. I'm going to explain what I'm going to do and then I'm going to do it. So you have this, there's three things that you need to manipulate. It's going to be the slide release lever right here, the button on the top of the slide, and the hammer. So the first thing you want to do is remove the magazine. You want to make sure the hammer's back, and or it'll go back when you pull the slide. You want to pull the slide all the way to the rear. You don't touch the takedown lever for this. Just pull the slide all the way to the rear. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you about it before I do it. I'm going to pull the slide all the way to the rear, holding it all the way back. It's very important that it's all the way back. I'm going to press this button down, and then I'm going to ride the slide forward, and that's going to capture the spring. Pulling the slide back, all the way back, pressing the button, and riding the slide forward. Now, you can see it's not under that spring is captured now, and this just flops around. So to get this off now turn this release all the way down like that. Pull the hammer all the way back, and the slide will just come right off. Now, hold it right there. Listen to me carefully. Do not pull the trigger. If this hammer drops, don't even slowly lower it to keep it down. Just this is the position it needs to stay in when you clean it. That's why you need to be very careful when you're cleaning it that you don't trip the trigger. You don't want the hammer falling without the slide on. You will damage the gun. You will damage it. Take a look when you got it apart here that you'll see, interestingly, see you got a feed ramp here, feed ramp that leads right into the chamber. Not all of these High Standards have feed ramps. This is a nice one. When you clean it, you make sure that that's cleaned, shiny, as shiny as possible. This is part of the, the whole magazine gun relationship is all involved with that feed ramp, where if you're tuning the mags. So when you have this off too, you could take a look here. So underneath here, you have the spring captured right in here. There's a serial number. The last 4 of the serial number is right over here also. You could tell if your slide matches the gun. Now you're all going to want to take the slide off for sure. But you could see down in here the mechanism that this button is connected to that captures that spring and is holding it under tension right in here. I think I saw somebody doing a video on this gun where their spring wasn't held by a captured and it was just floating around or whatever, like that. It didn't have something that captured it. I don't know if there's older ones or different designs that didn't have this, but I think he was just doing something wrong or something was broken, because this is the only way I think it should be. Now, putting it back on, this is where everybody has the issue, and it's easy. They just do too much, not too little. To put it back on, here's how you put it back on. You want this lever, same position that you took it off. You want this lever to be all the way down, the hammer to be back. So you could take this, so you could take the slide. Again, be careful that you're not hitting the trigger or pulling the trigger by accident. Just put it on and slide it all the way forward, just like that. Now, you make sure that this lever is all the way up. You can hold it up with your finger. You do not have to press the button on the top. You just grab the slide. Again, you make sure that this isn't down. Make sure this is up. Hold it with your finger, the slide release. Hold it all the way up. Firmly grab the slide. It should feel floppy, like it doesn't have any spring tension on it. You just pull it all the way back till you hear a click and then let go. And you undid the retention thing that was holding the slide spring. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how to do that. You're welcome. Now the magazine requirements to load. So what you want to do, we have our realistic snap caps here. Gotta love these realistic snap caps. Let me tell you something. I have been beating the crap out of these 2 sets that I got of realistic snap caps for a couple of years now, at least. Look at how dented and beat up. These things have been through wars with me, and not one of these fake projectiles is coming off of the cases, or they're falling apart, or it's still usable. And the dents and the bangs and all the dings are exactly what you want to see in your fake ammo, and not that it was hitting on the rims of live ammunition when you were doing whatever you were doing, whatever kind of testing that you were doing. These guys don't pay me. I only feature this product here because I believe in it and I love it, and they show their support to me for hyping their product by giving me a coupon code. So if you want to order from them, they're realistic snap caps, and my coupon code is one word: Milsurp Garage, MILSURPGARAGE. You get 10% off your order. I gotta order some more of these. I need a couple of sets of brand new ones, just because, like I said, these things have been through. Look at these things. Oof. So, loading this magazine. Here's the correct way to load this magazine. You do not want to take these rounds and just force them through the feed lips in any way. It's not like you got to use pushing the follower down with the round and going like that. That's what they want you to avoid, because by pushing down like this, you're pushing hard, and you could very easily upset these feed lips. These feed lips on these guns are very, very susceptible to this is how you tune the gun, the loading with these things. It's an art, trust me. They even sell a tool that you use that has the exact measurement that they're supposed to be apart from each other. There's a little notch in it that you could use to do the little minute bends and tuning and twisting. It's definitely It's an art to tune these magazines to work properly. This one, I'd say this guy's about, when I got the gun, it was about 60%. Now I'd say it's at about 90%. And I did a little bit of tuning that I haven't been to the range yet to test out. So we might be right in there, but we'll see. We'll cover a little bit of that in the shooting video. So what do you do with these? You pull the follower down with your thumb, and you just make sure that you're not pushing past the feed lips at all. You almost want to go in vertically like that, and then it'll just fall in. So you want to actually enter it in vertically, just like that. There should be no sideways bullet pushing it through like you're loading a Glock mag. It's a strange angle that you might not necessarily be used to. It's in like that, straight in. The rim of the bullet will fit right in here without having to move anything. It'll just fall in all by itself. And that's it. That's how they want you to load it. And unloading those is simple too. They fall out the same way. No prying or pushing or forcing anything past these feed lips. Even be careful when you clean the magazines. I've seen a lot of people where they take like like their patch on their cleaning rod that they push through the barrel, and they'll hold this down and they'll shove it in there and move it around. It's like you could easily be tweaking these things. Trust me, you tweak these feed lips even just a touch. So the thing about these high standards, you could have a miserable day at the range, or you could have a good day at the range, and that's solely based on how good is your magazine. So that brings us to shooting it. What was this thing like to shoot? Well, it's fun. But even though it's fun, I was really not that successful right off the bat with this thing. The bad was that the magazine needed a lot of adjustment, and I'm still dialing it in. It's not easy. It's like a lot of trial and error. And number two, this compensator definitely affects its ability to cycle properly. But like I said, because of the marks and the divots it leaves on the barrel, I want to have it on. And then when I go and shoot it, I have to have it off. It's a little bit of work. It's not like these set screws are meant to just go in and out a million times. And I can imagine eventually, if it comes on and off a lot like that, I can imagine it eventually gets stripped. I guess you could always repair the barrel. I mean, who knows? That's the bad. The bad is that it's not very reliable. As a lot of times it was not cocking the hammer fully. Again, after I took it home after this footage that you see right here, I was going to try to get it back to the range again before this video, but I didn't. But there was definitely another round of cleaning that needed to be done that might have cured the problem. I don't understand. When I cycle it by hand, the hammer comes back and stays all the way back. I don't know why when shooting it, sometimes the hammer would not get fully pushed back. It would be stuck on the half cock position after shooting when it's ejecting and picking up around, but still would not be all the way back. Interesting, but still working on it. The good about it is it's high quality, tight action. It has a nice feed ramp. Dialing it in is certainly possible. And I'm certainly not alone with these feeding and cycling issues. That's the good thing, is that with these high standards, it's to be expected. They ask a lot from you. If you have one of these that's shooting good, leave it alone. Don't use the mag in a different gun, thinking you go like, well, this mag works in this gun, so I'll use it in another gun. Just the way the slide slides over and picks up rounds out of that magazine in the other gun could mess up that magazine in the gun that's working good. If you got one of these that's working good, leave it alone. Don't drop the mag. Don't mess with the sights. Don't mess with anything. If it's working good, leave it alone. And here are 2 tips as far as ammunition. Tip number one, use CCI standard velocity exclusively. Now, there's a few words in there that are important. One is CCI, the other is standard velocity, and the other is exclusively. Those are very important terms to use CCI, standard velocity, exclusively. You have to follow all of those. You can't just follow one. You can't say, well, it's a standard velocity. It's just Remington, and I use it exclusively. No, because other ammo, it's waxy. There's a lot of reasons why I'm coming up with that, but this isn't like I'm not gonna like kick ammo down over here and get into a big battle over what the best ammo is. I'm just gonna tell you that this is the best ammo for this gun. It doesn't like that greasy stuff, and CCI doesn't have a lot of that gunk all over it. And it's the perfect velocity to cycle it without battering it. It's just the perfect push. So don't use CCI exclusively and then you're using Blazer. You go, oh, that's CCI. So Blazer's a little too hot. Anything that's above standard velocity. And then if you use the quiet 22s, you're not going to cycle. You're not going to hurt it. You could use quiet 22s if you want to pull the slide, but if you want to cycle it every time yourself, because the quiet 22 is not going to be enough to cycle it. Standard velocity, CCI in these things is perfect. Now here's tip number 2. Tip number 2 is see tip number 1. That's how important that is. So my footage here showed the compensator on and off before another round of mag tuning, like I told you. So here's my notes. I might have just covered this, but my notes were, it's better. Every time I work on it, it gets better, but it's not totally dialed in. I have a little bit to go left. As you can see in the video, it's as I'm going along, I think it's getting better. So this is in between rounds of tuning here. So it's obvious the compensator has to go because that's when it does its best. I almost went through full mags without a problem with the compensator off on my second to last magazine dialing. I did another magazine adjustment after this and haven't shot it yet. It does not have this replaceable barrel. These are my notes again. Some of the other high standard models do, but the cosmetic damage of the compensator will have to stay. So for now, the compensator stays on when this gun is just in its rest position, just like this, of, being on the table, being featured. What a beauty, huh? These things, they have such beautiful walnut grips. 1946. It just feels like that really good, solid tool steel. As much as you don't want to mess with these sights, just it just looks cool. Don't bang them around. Hopefully yours is just on and you can just leave it alone, because the screws and the manipulation you have to do to move these sights, they're frequently damaged when you do that. You know what I mean? And this thing was dirty when I got it, but in beautiful shape after it's been cleaned. See this flat spot right here? I don't know if you can see that in the video, but right here, there's a flat spot. Now you have, the grips can always tell a lot. You could always tell, like a cop gun will always have this wooden grip beat up. You can see my Smith & Wesson Model 10 video. This grip is beat up, and then this one is okay because it's a right-handed cop would have, this would be exposed all the time in the car. Every place he goes, everywhere he sits, every desk chair, rubbing on here. Or a left-handed cop, obviously, would be this one grip is destroyed. Then you know it's a left-handed cop had it for all those years. But this is a unique mark that I noticed. So what this is it's where the gun sits when it's flat. So when this just sits flat like this, if you look underneath like this, you see light shining through over here, but not right on this spot. This is the spot that it sits like this. So this is like a show and tell gun, like I like to call it. Like it's just been sitting there like this for so many years in a gun cabinet. And it just, all it does is get moved around a little bit like this. It gets taken out, it gets put back. It gets taken out, it gets put back. And every little rub eventually literally just polishes down the points on the checkering here and makes it smooth right there. So this is a gun that's just spent a lot of time on display. And that's great. For us, that's great. So yeah, that's how it really happened. Doing the video on that speed loader and holding the Supermatic Citation in my hand again made me realize that I miss it and I want to take it to the range. And at the range, I realized, High Standard, they have so many guns. They're so diverse. Let me take a look out there and keep it in my mind and see what's out there. And sure enough, the very next visit to the local gun shop, a pair of these beauties right there in front of me. And you know what? They're both on consignment. And what a cool thing that is when you have multiple guns on consignment from the same person, you always wind up getting a good deal. It's like nobody that has guns on consignment is not going to work with you to sell two of them at a time. So I figured, why pick from one or the other? They've been together all these years. Let's just keep them together. So next, it's on to its sibling that we will closely examine on your next visit to the Milsurp Garage. Stay well, and I'll see you soon.